is to put the ball in the hoop. Makes sense, right? I think that's true, but I think there's a deeper layer before you get to that, which is the purpose of basketball from a player's perspective. Before you can put the ball in the hoop, you have to have the ball. And so the purpose of basketball is not the hoop, the purpose of basketball is the ball. If you start like the youngest level, that's what players care about. Everybody, there's 10 players in the court and there's one ball. And the ball is like the power orb, basically. If you have the ball, you can score. And so there's like the competition to see how do you get the ball, not only on your opponent, against your opponent, but on your team. So you have to become a leader, because if you don't become a leader, other people aren't going to trust you with the ball. And you have to understand how to become in service to the ball, because the ball's mission is to get in the hoop.
Yes.
And so as a player, I think most players are thinking about scoring, but I think that you have to first start with the ball. And like, I think that there's a flow to basketball that's different than any other sport, because anybody can have the ball at any time. And so that chaos around how do you create a structure around that ball to help everybody move in unison, so that you're only 10% of the time you have the ball mathematically, if every player had the ball equally. So how do you as a player practice being in the 90% versus the 10%? What do you do to get the ball back as a defender? What do you do to set screens off ball, cut off ball, move off ball if you don't have the ball? And then what do you do when you have the ball to move the ball around to get the best opportunity to score? So I think that there's the competition of basketball is almost to see who can have the ball, and the person who has the ball should be the best player, should be the leader, and then everybody else needs to find their role around that. And that's where humility comes in, because not every player is going to have the ball, not every player is ball dominant. Some players, like JJ Redick, for example, is a great shooter. He was never ball dominant. He never took 10 dribbles a game in some games. He would catch and shoot, he would move off of screens. So players have to find their role to be in service to the ball for the betterment of the game. What are your thoughts on that idea?
That was very deep. A very deep perspective. Honestly, it is to really piggyback off of it. I think it comes down to, like you said, your role and your character. When you did make some strong points as far as like the whole ball dominance and just like being that leader, but then it made me think of like another deeper side of it, as far as like to be in that position. Is it a mindset thing or is it a character thing? That makes sense. So for example, I was myself a floor general, so I had the ball, but my first thing wasn't thinking about scoring the ball. So I think that was also based on my character, because I'm also very selfless. So to make it even deeper, it was just like, I wanted to be, a top scorer, but I don't think I was that, because I was very selfless and also, enjoy seeing my other teammates score, which again is a part of leadership in its own way. So I guess my follow-up question is, just because you're a scorer, does that make you a leader? Or does that mean you have to be a leader?
I think if you have the ball often, you have to develop leadership. Otherwise, the team around you is not going to click as well. So like, you can score, but there's 4 other players on the court. So I don't think that you have to be like the team captain if you're the leading scorer, so to speak, but you have to be able to collaborate with 4 other players. Otherwise, you're not going to be someone people want to play with. And I think that like at a younger level, there's so much emotion involved in basketball. And I think there's being passive versus being assertive versus being authoritative. Like there's a level of dominance that you have to put forward in the game to get the ball, but there's also a level of humility. And I feel like basketball, out of any sport, is the only sport where all 10 players basically are playing the same role. Like, yes, we can give positions and they can move to places on the court, but in soccer there's a goalie. In hockey there's a goalie. In football there's offense and defense. In volleyball there's 2 sides of the net. It's not the same thing as basketball, where it's constantly flowing. I feel like in that flow, basketball of any sport teaches life skills that other sports don't teach, because you have freedom within the rules and there's one ball. And I think that practice of being assertive to get the ball, being assertive to take the shot, but also knowing when it's not your time to take the shot, or having the humility to know I might not be the best scorer here, I need to find a better shot for my teammate. And so it's just fascinating to me how I think we look too much at the stats and we don't think about the emotion. We don't think about the leadership. We don't think about the authority. We don't think about the assertiveness it takes from players to even get the ball. Because anybody can go through a drill. I mean, not everybody, but like you can go through a drill and do the same thing over and over again. But that doesn't mean energetically you're going to attract the ball. It doesn't mean energetically you're going to be able to stop the ball. It doesn't mean energetically you know when to pass the ball. Like you can do all the drills, have all the skills, but there's an emotion, there's an energy of basketball that requires more, like you said, character, leadership skills. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I think basketball, for those reasons, is a sport that can teach things that nothing else I've seen can teach.
I agree. It's definitely bigger than just putting the ball in the net, like you said.
100%.
Okay.